Here we are, day number 9. So we only have one more day after today's lesson, but today's lesson is a pretty long lesson, the longest lesson of the challenge. But there's a lot of helpful information in this lesson, and I hope you can learn a lot going through this lecture. So today we have an interactive lecture. This is going to be very helpful. We're going to review IELTS Speaking Part 3. The topic was video games. So we're actually going to look at the student response, and we're going to look at what the student did well in their response. We're also going to talk about maybe some problems the student had with their response. So today's lesson, you have 3 parts. You can see on my board, it's a little different. So for the first part, we're going to watch. Just watch the lecture. If you want, you can watch the lecture in the video that I provide, or you can download the PDF and follow at your own pace. You can download the PDF in this website on this page, and also download the audio and pause the audio when you want, and use the PDF to follow along. Or you can also just pause the video, watch the video and pause when you want. Which brings me to the next part of the challenge is pause. So we're gonna pause the video and you wanna think about the student's response. So in the lecture today, some words will be red, some words will be blue. So the red words are some problems with the response. So when you pause it, you should look at those red words and think about why is that a problem? What's the problem with the student's response? Then look at the blue words. Think about why are those good answers, or what did the student do well? Okay, and then finally, improve. So you need to improve your recording from yesterday's lesson. So use your recording. Think about how the student responded. What did the student do well? Maybe you also had some of the same mistakes as the student. So improve your recording. So make a new recording, but use some of the techniques the student used in their response. Okay, so this is the second to last day. So I will see you again tomorrow. Good luck and happy studies. Okay, so this is a lecture for speaking part 3, the topic, video games. So we are going to look at the student's response and see how we can make it better. So in this video, you can follow along with me, or you can download the PDF and the audio. We see we have red words and blue words. So what does this mean? So we can click on the red words, and the ere words are any mistakes that were made by the speaker. So we can see what mistakes the speaker made and see how to improve them. The blue words are good. These are parts of the response that the speaker did well. So these are good phrases, words, expressions, or other speaking techniques that are useful for the IELTS exam. It's useful for sounding like a more natural speaker. So we can look at the first question. The first question, do you think video games or other electronic games are an important part of society? This is the question the examiner asked. The response by the student, some people agree to play games, some people do not agree. I think that it's based on the game's content, because some of game explore some violence, which is not good to the youngest, because they don't have the critical thinking. So it might cause a lot of problem. So if you would like to, you can pause the video now and look at this response and think about what the speaker can improve on and what the speaker did well. Okay, so we have the first part. Some people agree. So this is something the speaker did well. Why is this good? Well, it's a good initial response. It's a good way to answer the question to start. Some other ways to do this, we can say most people tend to think that, but I think that. So most people tend to think that dogs are the best pets, but I think cats are the best pets. Or a lot of people think this way, but I don't agree. And then the last example, some people agree that, again, some people agree that dogs are the best pets, but others disagree because they like cats. So we can go back to the question, and we have a mistake. So what is the mistake here? So this statement is not very clear. So we can use the great introduction combined with this idea to make a more clear and concise statement. So we have, some people agree that video games are beneficial to society, while others disagree and tend to think they can be harmful to society. So here we have people agree video games are good, People disagree. Video games are bad. So we can go back to the question. Now we have a couple more blue words, based on. So this is a good expression we can use in different situations and statements. Here are some examples. The movie was based on World War II. I love to read books based on real events. And jazz music is based on improvising. So we can go back to the question. We have more red words. Some of games. So this one, it's a mistake with the grammar. Some in games should agree in number. So it should be some of the game. Go back to the question. Explore some. So this is a good word here. Is used to express that there's more to know about video games and violence. So we are exploring the idea of video games and violence. What is the problem here? Well, it's not very clear. We know the speaker means the youngest, but what we do not know, the youngest what? So it should be to the younger generation. Go back to the question. Because they don't have the critical thinking. So we have red words and we have blue words. Red one says, don't have the. So if we use the word the followed by critical thinking, it needs to be specific. So for example, the critical thinking skills, and now we are specific about what, needed to understand the violence of video games. Or we could eliminate the and say, they don't have critical thinking, so it might cause problems. And we go back to the question, we have critical thinking. So this is a great expression to use. It means the ability to think about a topic in depth. So being able to think a lot about a specific topic. Now, critical thinking, this is very important for part 3 of the speaking exam. This is one very important skill to have for the IELTS speaking exam. So we'll go back to the question. We have one more problem, and it's problem. What is the problem with problem? It should be plural. This should be plural because no one has just one problem. Also, the speaker uses a lot of, which indicates the plural form. So it should be causes a lot of problems. So we go back to the question, and this is a little longer question. So we have a few more sentences. But another way. So this is a good transitional phrase to start talking about another idea. Some other examples are, however, another thing is that, another example, but another issue, and then finally, on the other hand. We'll go back to the slide. We have a couple more red words for the adult. So when talking about adults in a general sense, we do not use the word the. So it should be for adults, not for the adult. And then the older people. So this part is a little repetitive. It should either be for adults or for older people. Go back to the question. Since they are working every day. Here, the tense is incorrect in the sentence. We should use the simple present tense. They work every day. Go back. We have a lot of. So this is very important when using natural spoken English. We use a lot of quantifiers and a lot of adverbs of frequency when we speak. So some examples of quantifiers. I just used one. We use a lot of. So another example, some, all, or many. Some examples of adverbs of frequency, usually. So I usually wake up early in the morning, or always. I always take a walk for lunch. Never, rarely, and sometimes. So we'll go back, and we have reduced there. So here we can use a better expression like manage stress. So I listen to music to manage my stress, or it is important that we manage our stress the right way. Go back, we have a long one here. Playing game can help them to reduce the stress. So here we have 3 mistakes, 3 grammatical errors. So games should be plural, should be games because it's not a specific game, but games in general. Also, we do not need the preposition to. And finally, we do not need the article the. Go back to the question, and we have personally. So here, this is a great introductory word to use to start talking about your opinions. Some example words and phrases are, I believe that, in my opinion, honestly. If you ask me, in my experience. So we'll return to the question, and we have if I'm adult. So here, I think the speaker was a little confused. The expression should be as an adult, not if an adult. We'll go back. I wish I could. This is blue, so it's something good. Why is it good? Well, this is a good way to say you hope to do something, or that you wish it was a certain way. So the speaker says, I wish I could play video games all the time. Couple other examples are, I wish I could eat only cookies, but I know it is not healthy for me. Or, I wish I could watch TV all day, but I need to get some work done. Go back to the question. So we have our complete response to this question from the student. So in this challenge, in this lesson, I challenge you to write a better response with these notes. So think of how can we respond to this question better? Can we add more details? So let's look at question number 2. So can video games have a negative side? So the speaker said, definitely. I don't think there's anything that you can just be certain good. You always have both sides, good and not good. And it depends on how you use it, how you master your time. So again, if you'd like to pause the video, think about the mistakes, and think about what the speaker did well. Okay, so we have the first word is blue, definitely. This was great for the speaker. She used intonation in her voice very well. Intonation is important for scoring a band score 7 or higher on the speaking portion. So this is very important if we want to score 7. This is a way to show emotion with our voice, or to express our ideas with our voice. She raises her voice slightly to express certainty and excitement with her response. She expresses that she is sure of her response with the sound of her voice. She says, definitely. Go back, we have some red words. So I don't think there's anything that you can just be certain good. The mistake here, the sentence is missing a verb. It should be that you can just be certain it is good. We'll go back to the question. We have one more here. Both sides good and not good. So here the speaker should say good and bad to avoid repetition, instead of saying the word good 2 times. So we'll go back to the question. So we have our whole response to this question. Think about how can the speaker improve this response? I challenge you to change this answer to make a better response. It needs to be longer. How can we make this answer longer? So we will go to the third question and the last question. So the examiner asks, what do you think about the future of video games? Future video games? I know there's a virtual game, but I don't have time to see more detail on it because I'm concentrating on studying. So I ignore everything else beside my study. It would be cool if I know how to play because I think they set up a real situation, or they have glasses you can see everything just like the 3D. Okay, so again, pause the video and think about how can you improve this response? What are the mistakes and why did they make these mistakes? What did the speaker do well? So let's look at the first one, future video games. So this is a great technique the speaker used to think about her response. She kind of hesitates. She says, future video games. She also uses a bit of intonation to express that she is thinking about the topic. You can repeat part of the question by raising your voice at the end to show you're thinking about the topic. So again, she says, future video games. We'll go back to the question. There's a virtual game. So here, it is a problem with specific and general again. So virtual games is in general. So it should be, there are virtual reality games. Go back to the question. We have, but I never. So this part should be eliminated to sound more fluent. So back to the question. It should be, I know there's a virtual game. I don't have time. We should eliminate but I never. To see more detail on it. So the problem here, there are 2 grammatical errors. The verb know should be used instead of see because we know the details in this example. And the preposition about should be used instead of on. So it should be know more details about it. So we go back to the question. We have ignore everything else. So this is a good expression to use when we want to say we do not pay attention to anything else and we only focus on one thing. Like the speaker's example, only her schoolwork, only her studies. So go back to the question. We have beside my study. Here there are 2 grammatical errors also. This should be plural because studies expresses her schoolwork. And also beside should be besides, because beside means next to, while besides means except. Okay, so let's go back to the question. It would be cool. This is a great natural sounding phrase. It expresses something that has not happened, but it would be nice to have or nice to happen. Other examples can be, it would be cool if I could go to Europe for vacation. It would be cool if you come over to visit me today. It would be cool to watch a play, but I've never been to one. Next we have no. So here it should be I wish I knew that. So we use past tense to talk about our wishes. For example, I wish I lived somewhere different. My neighborhood is noisy. Or I wish I didn't have to do my homework tonight. Go back to the question. They set up. So this should be eliminated to avoid repetition. A real situation. So the word scenario is a better choice here. Scenario refers to the setting of the video game. Or. Here, the word and should be used instead of or, because you can do both, not one or the other. And finally, we have the last part. This sentence needs to be a bit more clear by adding some details and indicators. So it should be glasses where you can see everything around you, like a 3D environment. Okay, so let's go back to the question. We've looked at every part of this question now. Again, I challenge you, think of a response. Think of a better answer to this question. So this is it for this challenge. You can check us out at setest.com or join our Facebook group if you are not a part of it.